This morning, after nearly 13 hours of debate, we now have an established rule for President Trump's impeachment trial.
And we are live from the state capitol this morning with a preview of Governor Evers' State of the State address. That's straight ahead.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning, folks, and thanks for joining us on your Wednesday, January 22nd. I'm Leah Lynchide.
And I'm Josh Freider. Let's get right to meteorologist Hattie McLean today, who's tracking some snow on the way.
That's right. We have alert days added to the forecast starting tonight through Friday night for southern Wisconsin. We're talking a long-duration light snow event for the area. In addition, there could be some areas of fog developing with relatively mild temperatures over that cold snowpack. So low visibility will be an issue as well. We'll talk more about that storm coming up in Maine weather. But right now this morning, it is warmer than it was this time yesterday. Temperatures are in the 20s in all locations in our viewing area. Wind chills, though, are a little bit lower, down in the single digits and teens. So it's still feeling pretty chilly outside. Our temperatures, though, will climb to a high of 32 degrees this afternoon with a south wind at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Let's take a look at those traffic maps early today. We'll see what's happening on area roads. Still pretty quiet here in Madison. No major delays to tell you about just yet. No accidents in and around Dane County as well. Again, coming up in weather, we'll talk about that snow. Here's a look at the roads this morning, but it may be a little different later on today. That light snow developing late may impact the evening commute for southern Wisconsin.
Yeah, looks like it ramps up just at that 6 o'clock mark, huh?
Yeah, the snow's starting to fall, so it could get a little slippery.
All right, we'll keep an eye on it. Thank you, Hattie.
You're welcome.
Breaking news overnight, the rules for President Trump's impeachment trial are now approved in a party line vote.
The nearly 13-hour session wrapped up just hours ago, but not before Chief Justice John Roberts scolded both sides.
I think it is appropriate at this point for me to admonish both the House managers and the President's counsel in equal terms to remember that they are addressing the world's greatest deliberative body.
Chief Justice Roberts stepped in at around midnight after things got a little tense between the president's lawyers and Representative Jerry Nadler. He advised them to use language that's, quote, conducive to civil discourse. Justice Roberts will have to be back at the Supreme Court at 9 this morning before the trial begins again at noon.
Democrats won an early victory when Majority Leader Mitch McConnell dropped his plans to schedule opening arguments over 2 days, adding a third day for both sides. McConnell also agreed to allow House evidence automatically into the Senate record. All other amendments failed, largely along party lines.
Now, you just heard President Trump making comments from Davos this morning in that CBS special report on the impeachment trial. He continued to call the trial, quote, a total hoax, and said the phone conversation at the heart of all of this with the Ukrainian president was a perfect phone call. He'll be back on his way to Washington later today. CBS This Morning will have much more on his comments from Davos just after 7. Back in Wisconsin, a big night is ahead at the state capitol.
We're talking about the annual State of the State address. Christina Laurie joins us live this morning with what to watch for tonight. Good morning, Christina.
Good morning, Josh and Leah. Governor Tony Evers will be laying out his policy agenda and goals for the year during his second State of the State address here at the Capitol tonight. But everything you hear him say tonight might not actually get done this year. And here is why. The speech will be delivered before a joint meeting of the state Senate and Assembly. It comes as Evers, a Democrat, and Republicans who control the legislature have found little to agree upon. Another twist, lawmakers plan to be in session very few days before adjourning for the year, decreasing the chances much will actually get done. Right now, they're only scheduled to work consistently through March, with more limited meetings through the month of May before members of the legislature return back to their home districts to campaign, because this is an election year. Evers previously asked the legislature to pass a series of measures, many of which have bipartisan support. Evers was active on Facebook earlier this month, and he was optimistic, too, that he would get a lot done. I'll talk about what he hopes specifically to get done coming up at 6:30, Josh and Leah. But tonight, you can stay tuned. Amy Reed will be taking over. She will lead our team coverage from here at the Capitol. Speech starts tonight at 7.
All right, Christina Laurie reporting for us this morning. Thank you, Christina.
Right now, state lawmakers are taking steps to prevent further contamination of our lakes and rivers. Both chambers passed a bill which eliminates the use of firefighting foam that contains PFAS, except in the case of an emergency. We've seen the effects of PFAS very close to home. Lake Monona has tested positive for the chemicals, and just last week, the Wisconsin DNR announced fish advisories in the lake because of them. The bill now heads to Governor Evers' desk.
Another bill is heading to the Assembly after passing the Senate. It removes a barrier for police officers and firefighters to file a workers' comp claim when they're getting treated for PTSD. As it's currently written, the law requires first responders to prove that their trauma is at a higher level than the standard for that profession. That would be dismissed in this measure. There's no timeline for when the Assembly will take it up.
Looking ahead now, Vice President Mike Pence will be at the Wisconsin State Capitol next week. He'll be attending an event in the building's rotunda on Tuesday, celebrating National School Choice Week. The visit will come exactly 2 weeks after President Trump's rally in Milwaukee. The vice president visited Wisconsin 3 times last year, but next week's trip will be the first in Madison.
The City of Madison Clerk's Office is accepting absentee ballot requests for the 2020 elections. Before requesting one, you'll need to verify your voter registration at myvote.wi.gov. You can submit your absentee request form there or use the form on the city clerk's website.
A ruling calling for the purge of more than 200,000 voters in Wisconsin is headed to the state Supreme Court. A conservative law firm wants that court to reverse a lower court's order putting that purge on hold. It also asked the high court to undo the stay of contempt order under the state's elections commission issued by the lower court after that group failed to move forward with the purge.
All right, 6:06 on your Wednesday. Still ahead on News 3 Now this morning. Another gun incident for Madison parents to know about after a high schooler was found with a loaded weapon in his backpack.
But first, Hattie's tracking alert days in the forecast with more snow on the way starting later today. She'll have more on the timing and the totals right after this.
Good morning from the Hattie-O patio. It is warmer outside technically this morning, but boy, it doesn't feel like it when you factor in the wind. Still going to want to bundle up as you head out the door early this morning. We have a lot to talk about weather-wise over the next couple of days. Gone is the sunshine. We'll replace it with clouds as well as chances for snow. We have alert days in the forecast that start tonight and go through Friday night. We're talking on and off light snow over the next couple of days, so there will be some accumulation across southern Wisconsin. In addition, with milder air and moisture moving into the region, we'll likely see areas of fog develop, creating reduced visibility. So let's get to all the details. Future track snow, the total snow for the event is going to be anywhere from 3 to 6 inches. So when you consider it's about 3 days, that's not a lot of snow for southern Wisconsin, but enough that you're probably going to have to clean up from time to time. Now this morning on the radar map, we are seeing some snow spread into northwestern Wisconsin. Nothing here in southern Wisconsin just yet. However, that snow is expected to move into the area later on this afternoon. From west to east is where we'll see that snow spread in. Our temperatures early today, I mentioned it's warmer. We're in the 20s right now. 23 here in Madison, 22 in the Dells, 25 in Janesville. And when you factor in that wind, though, your future track wind speeds around 10 to 20 miles an hour right now. And those south winds are expected to remain pretty strong through the day today. So wind chill will be a factor even into the afternoon. Feels like it's in the teens this morning. It'll only feel like low 20s later on today. So if you're wondering exactly when that snow is going to start, you have a few hours yet. You should be able to get to work no problem. If you're running around at the lunch hour, not a big deal either, just mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures hovering right around 30 degrees at lunchtime today. Now through the afternoon by 5 p.m., we'll start to see that snow move into southwestern Wisconsin. The latest forecast models are delaying the onset of the snow just a little bit more than what we thought yesterday. So you may be able to make it through the evening commute here in Madison, but through the evening that snow will spread to the east and continue on and off overnight. Again, there will be some light accumulations by tomorrow morning, up to 2 inches possible for southern Wisconsin. On and off snow showers continue through the day Thursday and into Friday. Overall, the next 10 days look pretty cloudy across southern Wisconsin. With those milder temperatures in place, we're not likely to see much sunshine here. Let's get an update on your traffic report, though, this morning. We'll send it over to Stacey K for all the details. Good morning, Stacey.
Good morning. So far looking good on the Beltline this morning. Really nothing to slow you down yet in either direction. Other roads here in Dane County moving along well. Just some brake lights popping up at Stoughton approaching the Beltline. No delays downtown or around campus. Volume is not an issue yet. And other main routes heading into Madison, they're moving along at the posted speeds. No crashes or delays. With your first alert traffic, I'm Stacey K.
Thank you very much, Stacey, and thank you, Hattie. 6:12 on your Wednesday. A student at an area high school could be facing charges after a resource officer allegedly found a loaded gun in his backpack. 18-year-old Tyrese Williams is a student at Madison West High. The school district says Williams was quickly isolated, searched, and arrested after the gun was found in his backpack Tuesday morning. Because of that, the school was never put on lockdown. One parent says he's confident the school did everything it could to protect students, but he would prefer a loaded gun never make it so close to his kids again.
As a parent, I think there's some concern that a gun got into the school and at least for a while was undetected until the tip came in. You do sort of wonder if a tip hadn't come in, what might have happened.
In an email to parents, West's principal reiterated that students often know when friends and classmates have guns, and when they tell adults, it can make a huge difference. Williams now faces tentative charges of having a firearm on school grounds and resisting an officer.
A school staff member is still on paid leave in Middleton this morning after allegedly separating students by race and ethnicity during a math and literacy exam. According to the district, that incident happened on October 16th in testing for 9th and 10th graders. The director of communications for the district says he thought there would be a resolution by December, but it is still under investigation.
An area city is working to protect its historic downtown district. Stoughton's Landmarks Commission wants to group all 67 buildings in its historic downtown area to follow one set of rules on what types of changes building owners can make to the exteriors. They're doing this to preserve the historic and unique look of the downtown area. They say they're not trying to make it impossible for building owners to make changes. They're just trying to make sure those changes are appropriate and have a uniform look.
Landmarks ordinance protects the historic building and the historic materials. So if that historic material is repairable, then they have to repair it. We're not going to approve removing that historic material unless it's not repairable.
The commission will hold one more public meeting on the topic before sending a finalized resolution to the full city council.
The U.S. Department of Labor says that 99 Wendy's and Fazoli's restaurants have violated child labor laws, including 8 restaurants here in southwest Wisconsin. The franchise has to pay a penalty of more than $150,000. In our area, the restaurants made 38 local teens work too many hours or outside of the time minors are allowed to work. But the Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development says they don't have any complaints for the 40 Wisconsin restaurants found in violation. Child labor laws say 14 and 15-year-olds aren't supposed to work during school hours and can't work before 7 a.m. or after 7 p.m. and a maximum of 3 hours per day.
Around the state, a school bus driver is being accused of neglecting a child after a 4-year-old was left alone on the bus earlier this month. A criminal complaint alleges driver LaMonica Langston parked the bus near her home, breaking policy by never checking to see if all of the kids were off the bus. Prosecutors say the girl had fallen asleep, waking up after the bus was parked. They say she started to cry and bang on the window until someone noticed. Langston no longer works for that company. If she's convicted, she could face up to 9 months in jail.
6:16 is your time this morning, and still ahead for us on this Wednesday. We're hearing why residents in Puerto Rico are in outrage this morning and calling for their governor's resignation.
And Hattie is keeping an eye on chances for snow starting today and reaching into the weekend. We'll tell you how it could impact the bus stop and your commute home this evening. Stay with us. This is News 3 Now this morning. 6:19 on this cloudy Wednesday morning. Temperatures are a bit milder this morning, but don't be fooled. That wind is pretty harsh out there.
I know. It feels like the spring, you know, that first warm day, but there's really a strong wind, so it doesn't really feel that warm.
And no sunshine either.
Right.
Oh,
It's
no,
gone.
Not a lot of sun. I did soak it up yesterday. I hope you guys
I did too, yeah.
as well, because we
I
don't
was
have
napping.
Nice.
That's important
Nice.
too. Very important. But take a look at our temperatures early this morning. We are in the 20s, so technically it's a lot warmer than it was yesterday. Doesn't feel that much warmer outside, though. Take it from me. I'm just as cold outside this morning as I was yesterday. Wind chills are in the teens this morning. They'll stay in the teens through lunch hour, climbing only into the low 20s. So those wind chills are about 10 degrees lower than the actual air temperature. Here's your bus stop forecast. Again, dress for winter again today. It's going to technically be in the 30s this afternoon with some light snow developing later on. So, of course, don't forget all that winter gear. Boots, hats, and mittens, all needed at the bus stop today. Coming up in weather, we are going to talk about the impacts of this next storm that'll impact us through the weekend. There will be some driving impacts across southern Wisconsin, and you may have to get out those shovels as well.
Thanks, Hattie. Tensions are high in Puerto Rico this morning after supplies meant for relief from Hurricane Maria 2 years ago were found stored in a warehouse. Citizens of the U.S. territory protested in the streets calling for the resignation of Governor Wanda Vazquez. Vazquez issued a statement saying it was unforgivable that the resources were kept in the warehouse and fired her emergency management director, Secretary of Family Services, and Secretary of Housing. Those supplies are now being distributed to residents affected by the recent earthquakes.
Humans on the island aren't the only ones affected by those earthquakes. Hundreds of pets have been left homeless after the devastating seismic activity. Shelters across the territory are being overwhelmed with new rescues, so a new effort is underway to find those animals a home here on the U.S. mainland. Airlifts are transporting pets from San Juan to mainland shelters where they will be adopted.
You typically think, oh, they're going to euthanize all the animals, but no, they sent them to us so we can adopt them out.
The organizations also delivered much-needed supplies to the people of Puerto Rico still living in the disaster zone.
New numbers are showing a less than successful year for deer hunters here in Wisconsin. Reports from the DNR show that around 50,000 fewer deer were killed this past season than the season before. That report says 288,000 deer were killed in 2019's traditional 9-day season, archery season, and the youth hunt. The report says this year's drop-off is because of a late start to the season and poor weather.
The Packers won't be heading to the Super Bowl in 2 weeks, but something tells us Aaron Rodgers is still doing okay this morning. There's a report out breaking down just how much he makes for every minute of playtime, and it's pretty impressive. The folks at AT&T say Rodgers has the highest yearly salary of any first-string quarterback at just under $67 million a year. So that totals out to just about $150,000 per minute, folks.
Wow.
Of playtime.
That must be nice.
Unbelievable.
So here's a Super Bowl bet you're going to want to take this year. Buffalo Wild Wings says this year's game won't go into overtime, but if it does, free wings for everyone.
Ooh.
Sounds good to me. According to the chicken wing chain, the Las Vegas odds only show a 10% chance of overtime happening this year. The San Francisco 49ers will take on the Kansas City Chiefs in Miami on February 2nd.
Better believe I'll be waiting in line. All right, live from New York, it's J.J. Watt. The former Wisconsin Badger and current Houston Texan will be hosting Saturday Night Live. The Pewaukee native will host the show on February 1st, the day before the Super Bowl. The musical guest for that episode is country star Luke Combs.
Which I'm sure you don't like at all.
Oh, I'm so excited for that show.
We now know what Miller Park will be called next year when American Family Insurance takes over the naming rights for the Brewers Stadium. It'll be called American Family Field starting next January 1st. American Family bought the naming rights for the stadium last year and will hold those rights for 15 years. The ballpark logo and other branding elements will come later this year. The Brewers renamed their spring training facility the American Family Fields of Phoenix last year.
Just like I keep writing 2019 this month, I'm going to keep calling it Miller Park, I'm sure, for quite a while.
I think people will be calling that for as long as you can even think of. I think everyone's going to still consider it Miller Park.
Change is hard, but it can be good.
American Family Field. I like the alliteration, though,
yeah.
so not bad.
6:24 on your Wednesday. Still ahead, we're telling you what you might expect from Governor Evers' second State of the State address.
And the first Senate session for the impeachment of President Trump ended just hours ago. We'll have the latest coming up overnight on News 3 Now this morning.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for staying with us on this Wednesday, January 22nd. I'm Josh Breider.
And I'm Leah Lynchide. Breaking within the last hour here, President Trump is defending himself in Davos this morning at the Economic Forum, just hours after the first day of his impeachment trial wrapped up.
Well, I'll tell you the way I look at it. It's a total hoax. It's a disgrace. They talked about their tremendous case.
The president also defended the call that is at the heart of all of this, with the Ukrainian president calling it, quote, perfect. He'll be back on his way to Washington later today. CBS This Morning will have much more on his comments from Davos coming up just after 7.
The rules for President Trump's impeachment trial are now approved in a party line vote. A 13-hour day wrapped up just hours ago.
CBS's Katherine Johnson has the latest from Capitol Hill.
There's a reason why we're here to 5 to midnight.
House managers and President Trump's legal team squared off in the first full day of the Senate impeachment trial.
They don't want the American people to see what's going on here.
That hypocrisy is astounding.
When they blew past midnight, things became tense.
And they lie, and lie, and lie, and lie. The only one who should be embarrassed, Mr. Nadler, is you.
Chief Justice John Roberts stepped in to admonish both sides.
Remember that they are addressing the world's greatest deliberative body.
In the end, Senate Republicans struck down nearly a dozen attempts by Democrats to subpoena new witnesses and documents.
The yeas are 53, the nays are 47.
Many that were blocked by the White House during the House investigation.
We've seen the House managers and Senate Democrats making redundant motions over and over and over again, the same motions that are being rejected.
I don't know how they can deny all witnesses.
The day started solemnly, all 100 senators quiet and attentive. They aren't allowed to have their cell phones or even drink coffee, but by nightfall, many were seen passing notes, eating candy, and moving around.
It's not our job to make it easy for you. It's our job to make it hard to deprive the American people of a fair trial.
Democrats will have another chance to try to call witnesses later in the trial after opening arguments and questions from senators. Katherine Johnson, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Only one vote wasn't straight down party lines. Maine Republican Susan Collins voted with Democrats on one failed amendment. It would have given more time to respond to motions. Opening arguments start today at noon. 6:30 right now at the state capitol today. Governor Evers will give his second State of the State speech.
The governor hopes to put a contentious first year with the state legislature behind him as he looks ahead to 2020. Christina Laurie is at the Capitol this morning with a preview. Hi, Christina.
Hi, Josh and Leah. Governor Evers is expected to call 2019 a successful year for the state when he takes the podium tonight here at the state capitol. In a post on Facebook earlier this month, he touted his administration's policies over the past year, saying they helped expand access to health care, improved road conditions across the state, and supported kids and schools. He ended that Facebook post by saying they're going to move into 2020 by hitting the ground running. Tonight, we might find out exactly what that means. The speech comes at a contentious time for Evers, a Democrat, and Republican leaders in the Senate and Assembly. Last month, Senate President Roger Roth and Assembly Speaker Robin Vos asked the governor to address in his speech, quote, warning signs on the horizon. Those include, according to Roth and Vos, an unemployment rate that has ticked up during Evers' first year in office and the challenges facing employers to find qualified workers. Anything the governor and legislature want to do, they'll have to accomplish on a shortened timeline. Currently, they only have events scheduled through May as legislators will return back home to their districts for the election year. Tonight's speech will begin at 7 o'clock, and Amy Reed will be out here leading our live team coverage. Josh and Leah, you can catch the recap tonight at 10 and over on Channel3000.com.
All right, Christina Laurie, thank you very much.
Law enforcement and convenience store employees are teaming up here in Wisconsin to put an effort to an end to human trafficking. The new tactic was announced by Attorney General Josh Kaul along with the State Patrol and store owners at the Stop and Go in Cottage Grove. They say they will be training workers to recognize signs that someone could be a victim of human sex trafficking. They hope this new initiative will let victims know that convenience stores can be a safe place to get help.
This is an issue that affects communities around the state of Wisconsin, and it affects all different types of communities. And so working to address it across the state of Wisconsin is critical to our response.
Convenience stores employ nearly 50,000 workers at around 3,000 locations statewide.
Opening statements are about to start this morning in the trial of former movie mogul Harvey Weinstein. This comes 2 years after Weinstein was first accused of rape, sexual abuse, and harassment by at least 100 women. Allegations from 6 of those women will be presented to the jury today. Weinstein continues to deny any wrongdoing and is not expected to testify. If convicted, he could spend the remainder of his life behind bars.
Coming up on 6:33 this morning, Hattie is here with your Altidore weather and traffic. Good morning, Hattie.
Good morning, Josh and Leah. We're technically starting out warmer this morning. Take a look at some of the numbers. 20s across southern Wisconsin. Big improvement over this time yesterday. However, there is a wind chill to factor in. Winds from the south around 10 to 20 miles an hour are making it feel quite a bit colder this morning. So as you head out the door early today, we're looking at temperatures climbing from the 20s back into the low 30s this afternoon. Those south winds will continue all day, though, so it will be breezy and chilly even into the afternoon. Light snow starts to spread into the area late today. Our first alert traffic maps will show you that we have no major issues here in and around Madison. Looks like you're still going at posted speeds as you head into the capital city. Coming up in weather, we'll talk about alert days that are in the forecast. Our snow chances really ramp up later on tonight and continue right through the rest of the week.
All right, thank you very much, Hattie. An illness responsible for killing at least 9 people overseas is now cropping up in the U.S. Nearly 450 people are infected with coronavirus, most of them in China. Within the last 24 hours, a resident was diagnosed in Seattle after a trip to that country. As a result, the CDC is raising the travel health notice from a level 1 to a level 2. Nearby airports like O'Hare in Chicago are now screening passengers coming in from Wuhan, China as a precaution.
The coronavirus is similar to severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS virus. The symptoms are like the ones you'd have with the cold, like a runny nose, cough, sore throat, headache, and fever. More severe cases can result in pneumonia or bronchitis. The coronavirus spreads from person-to-person contact and does not respond to antibiotics.
New this morning, you'll want to make sure your car isn't one of the 6 million vehicles being named in the latest airbag recall. Both Toyota and Honda are a part of this recall. Honda's covers certain Honda and Acuras that have Takata airbags that can hurl shrapnel at drivers during an accident. Toyota is joining a handful of other car makers that have had to recall a different type of airbag that might not inflate in a car crash. New research out of the UK this morning shows that exercising before breakfast will help you burn more fat. The study tracked 30 men with obesity. Those who exercised before they ate burned twice the amount of fat than those who worked out after. The study shows working out before you eat causes the body to burn stored carbs since the stomach is empty.
6:35 is your time. Coming up in the morning sprint, Vice President Mike Pence is making a stop in Madison next week. We'll tell you why.
And we are warning you about a dangerous new viral trend that could hurt your kids and your home. That's next on News 3 Now this morning.
Welcome back at 6:38. A new viral trend is sparking concern in parents and fire officials.
This is scary. A viral challenge on the app TikTok has users partially plug a phone charger into the wall, then slide a penny down the wall onto the exposed prongs. Fire officials warn this is an unsafe use of electricity and fire.
The electricity propels the charger and the coin. Now the coin is molten metal at this point, outwards. It could easily get you in the face, get you in the eye, it could cause blindness, and it could cause the clothing to catch on fire.
That is scary.
It seems obvious,
What
but
the heck?
don't do that. Officials are asking parents to talk to their kids about these foolish viral challenges, saying they're careless and can put everyone at risk. That's so scary.
I know, everyone wants to do those things for online, but when it's risking safety, not worth it.
We've been warned. A new study shows more parents are choosing to give their kids allowances.
This is very interesting. Researchers with Rooster Money found 69% of parents doled out regular allowances last year. Children between the ages of 4 and 14 earn an average of $499. That's $959 a week. It's actually up 6% from the year earlier. Financial experts say it's never too early to start practicing good money habits, and giving kids an allowance allows them to learn how to best spend and save it.
So we talked about this earlier. You and I did not get allowances growing up.
No, we did not. But I was also one of those that as long as you did your chores, you helped out around the house, that my parents would help us out from here and then. So.
And we were both expected to get a job as we moved into high school. I will say that I do think an allowance would help kids learn the importance of saving and how to manage money.
Yeah, especially at a younger age.
So we're asking you to sound off on this on our daily morning poll on Facebook.
Yeah, look at that. 82% of you said no, you do not give an allowance, and no, you live under my roof. That was our response.
That's
for
your
that.
allowance. You get to live here.
So that's quite interesting to see. I'm kind of excited to see if that's what it'll stay at, but I kind of figured it'll be a little bit more in the middle as far as what our research said this morning too. So.
Some strong reactions there. Make sure you sound off over on our Facebook page.
And while you're on Facebook this morning, send us your morning picture. Look at this. Susan is bringing us an incredible shot today.
This is from Door County, which is one of my favorite vacation destinations in the world. Take a look at that sky.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Another painting I would love to have on my wall.
You don't see too many purple sunrises.
No, you don't. That is a great shot. We're not going to see many sunrises coming up here.
No, we will not. Thank you, Susan, for sharing this one for us.
If you'd like to share us with your morning, please do so, and you can send it to us over on our Facebook page.
6:41 now. Still ahead, alert days are in the forecast for the rest of the week. Caddy's telling us when the snow will make its return to southern Wisconsin.
But first, it is, if you have a little kid turning 3 soon, please let us know so we can show their picture on TV.
It's Wednesday, not Friday, Josh.
Wednesday, we'll be right back.
For an accurate forecast you can trust, watch First Alert Weather. Look who's
Good morning from the News 3 Now First Alert Weather Center. We're starting off with pretty quiet conditions this morning. No issues with fog here in Madison this morning, but we could see some fog develop as we go through the next couple of days. A couple of storm systems impacting the area starting later on today and lasting through the day on Friday. So 2 alert days are in the forecast. We're talking some light snow accumulation as well as reduced visibility. Take a look at future track visibility. This is at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. You see visibility pretty common, less than 2 miles for the area. Some spots predicted to be less than a mile. As we go through the day with warm air continuing to move in, some snow falling on and off, visibilities may drop to near 0 by late in the day on Thursday. So reduced visibility as well as some snow falling may make for some tricky travel across the area. Now, total snow accumulation through Friday night for this particular event is likely going to be light when you consider this is falling over a 2 to 3 day period, but we're looking at 3 to 6 inches of snow, those higher totals to the north and west of Madison. Again, that's late today through Saturday. Now, there is some snow already on the map this morning. It's north and west of La Crosse, a fairly narrow band, but it may be a little heavy in some spots. It's going to take a few hours at least for the air to saturate here across southern Wisconsin and for that snow to move in. But take a look at the map across the Midwest section of the country. You can see that plume of moisture extends all the way back down into the south, into Texas this morning. There is plenty of moisture for these storms to work with. 2 areas of low pressure off to the west that will actually combine and merge into one area of low pressure as they track through the central part of the United States. So our snow chances are in the forecast for a couple of days. Now, our current conditions this morning, we start at 23 degrees. South winds at 13, though, send that wind chill right back down to 11 this morning. Temperatures are in the 20s across all of southern Wisconsin. Keep in mind, though, it's not feeling that mild this morning. Winds from the south 10 to 20 miles an hour. They will stay that strong throughout the day. Even as we head towards the lunch hour and in the evening hours, we're still looking at a pretty strong south wind. So wind chill factor today, definitely going to want to consider it. Wind chills in the teens this morning, only climbing into the 20s this afternoon. Here's a look at your future track forecast model. If you want to time out the start of that snow later on today, should be just fine going through the lunch hour today. Dry but cloudy across southern Wisconsin. Heading through the afternoon, that snow starts to work its way into far southwestern Wisconsin. By 5 o'clock, we still may be dry here in Madison. So if you're leaving early today, you might be able to make it home before that snow moves in. Snow will spread across the area through the evening and the overnight hours and continue on and off through the day on Thursday as well. Here's a look at your extended forecast. We'll likely see up to 2 inches of snow on the ground tomorrow morning when you head off to work and school. And again, on and off snow showers Thursday and Friday. There is the potential for a little bit of rain to mix in the afternoon with high temperatures here in Madison in the mid-30s. Overall, though, kind of a cloudy forecast heading into next week.
Oh.
Here's Isis and Roscoe in Cottage Grove. They found a sunny spot to curl up. 32 today if they're taking a walk later on this afternoon.
No sunny spots today, huh? All right, thank you, Addie.
You're welcome.
Morning Sprint is up next. Stick around.
It's 6:51, time for the morning sprint with everything you need to go as you head out the door on your Wednesday.
We start in Washington this morning, where the rules for President Trump's impeachment trial are now approved in a party line vote. Democrats won an early victory when Majority Leader Mitch McConnell dropped his plans to schedule opening arguments over 2 days, adding a third day for both sides. McConnell also agreed to allow House evidence automatically into the Senate record. All other amendments failed largely along party lines.
The President Trump is continuing to denounce the impeachment trial from thousands of miles away. He's in Davos for the World Economic Forum this week and has been receiving briefings on the proceedings. In a press conference this morning, he called the trial, quote, a total hoax. He'll be back on his way to Washington later today.
Governor Tony Evers will be laying out his policy agenda and goals for the year during his second State of the State address tonight here at the Capitol. During that speech, he will deliver that speech before a joint meeting of the state Senate and Assembly. It comes as Evers, a Democrat, and Republicans who control the legislature have found little to agree upon. Lawmakers plan to be in session very few days before adjourning for the year, decreasing the chances much will actually get done. Evers previously asked the legislature to pass a series of measures, many of which have bipartisan support. The speech begins tonight at 7 o'clock. Our Amy Reed is leading team coverage, and we'll have a recap on channel3000.com, as well as our news at 10 o'clock.
Thanks, Christina. State lawmakers are taking steps to prevent further contamination of our lakes and rivers. Both chambers passed a bill which eliminates the use of firefighting foam that contains PFAS, except in the case of an emergency. Lake Monona has tested positive for the chemicals, and just last week, the Wisconsin DNR announced fish advisories in the lake because of them. The bill now heads to Governor Evers' desk.
Vice President Mike Pence will be at the Wisconsin State Capitol next week. He'll be attending an event in the building's rotunda on Tuesday to celebrate National School Choice Week. The visit comes 2 weeks after President Trump's rally in Milwaukee. Pence visited Wisconsin 3 times last year, but next week's trip will be the first to Madison.
The City of Madison Clerk's Office is now accepting absentee ballot requests for the 2020 elections. Before requesting one, you'll need to verify your voter registration at myvote.wi.gov. You can submit your absentee request form there or use the form on the city clerk's website.
A ruling calling for the purge of more than 200,000 voters in Wisconsin is headed to the state Supreme Court. A conservative law firm wants that court to reverse a lower court's order, putting the purge on hold. Those 200,000 voters had not responded to a mailing asking if they had moved.
Cloudy skies today with some light snow spreading in much later on. Temperatures will top in the low 30s. South winds, though, around 10 to 20 miles an hour, making it feel a little colder. We have alert days in the forecast starting tonight through Friday night. We're looking at some light snow accumulation over that several-day period. Also issues with visibility as fog develops for the area. Again, snow chances ramp up really later on today, especially after the evening hours here in south central Wisconsin.
Hattie, thank you. A student at an area high school could be facing charges after a resource officer allegedly found a loaded gun in his backpack. 18-year-old Tyrese Williams is a student at Madison West High School. The district says Williams was quickly isolated, searched, and arrested after the gun was found. Williams now faces tentative charges of having a firearm on school grounds and resisting an officer.
The U.S. Department of Labor says 99 Wendy's and Fazoli's restaurants have violated child labor laws, including 8 restaurants here in southern Wisconsin. The franchise has to pay a penalty of more than $150,000. In our area, the restaurants made dozens of local teens work too many hours or outside of the time minors are allowed to work.
Law enforcement and convenience store employees are teaming up here in Wisconsin in an effort to put an end to human trafficking. The new tactic was announced by Attorney General Josh Kaul along with the State Patrol and store owners at a stop-and-go in Cottage Grove. They say they will be training workers to recognize signs that someone could be a victim of human sex trafficking.
Opening statements are about to start this morning in the trial of Harvey Weinstein. This comes 2 years after Weinstein was accused of rape, sexual abuse, and harassment by at least 100 women. Allegations from 6 of those women will be presented to the jury. Weinstein continues to deny any wrongdoing and is not expected to testify. If convicted, he could spend the remainder of his life in prison.
China is now reporting that 9 people have died and nearly 450 people are infected with a new virus. Coronavirus has also made its way to the U.S. Resident was diagnosed in Seattle after a trip to China. As a result, the CDC is now raising the travel health notice from a level 1 to level 2. Nearby airports like O'Hare and Chicago are now screening passengers coming in from China as a precaution.
Tensions are high in Puerto Rico today after supplies meant for relief from Hurricane Maria 2 years ago were found in a warehouse. Folks there protested in the streets, calling for the resignation of Governor Wanda Vazquez. Vazquez issued a statement calling the whole thing unforgivable. She even fired several members of her cabinet. The supplies are now being used to help those hit by recent earthquakes.
We now know what Miller Park will be called next year when American Family Insurance takes over the naming rights for the Brewers Stadium. It'll be called American Family Field starting next January 1st. American Family bought the naming rights for the stadium last year and will hold those rights for 15 years. The ballpark logo and other branding elements will come later this year.
6:56 now. Let's turn it over to Stacey K with a look at your first alert traffic. Hey, Stacey.
Hey, the westbound Beltline is starting to get busy now, especially between Stoughton Road and West Broadway. Inbound John Nolan picking up at the Rimrock and North Shore Drive intersections going into downtown. And other main routes heading into Madison, they're moving along at the posted speeds. No crashes or delays. With your first alert traffic, I'm Stacey K.
Thank you, Stacey. And here's a live look outside at the Capitol from our Edgewater Skycam. Just a little bit of pink in some of those clouds this morning. Look for the clouds to thicken up as we go through the morning hours. Temperatures will climb from the mid-20s right now into the low 30s. Be prepared for some snow later on today, especially after 5 p.m. here in Madison. We do have alert days in the forecast then through Thursday and Friday for on and off snow showers. Temperatures will top in the mid-30s. There'll likely be areas of fog as well.
All right. Thank you, Hattie.
And thank you for joining us. Go make it a great day. We'll leave you with a live look at the state capitol where Governor Evers will make his State of the State address today.
This is your